Oh shit, is there anything I should probably close Steam, huh? That'd be a good thing to have closed while we... Wouldn't want that. Wouldn't want Steam notifications to go off during the podcast. That would be detrimental.
Listen, I love how in that chapter you can see a small visual difference between Super Floof and Super Floof, the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Is the eyes are like slightly, the little like bumps above the eyes are slightly closer to their eyes on the second Super Floof. Also, still Toshio Watanabe. What peak naming.
Link's going places. I'll directly send it to my boy, because why not? He should get notification from being subscribed to the channel, but you never know. You never know. Can't hurt. Welcome everybody. We're here. It's week. I almost said it's week 10. It's week 8. 10 episodes watched. We're almost done. We're getting there. Close.
Yeah.
We got 5 shows left. There's gonna be spoilers for them. There's gonna be harsh language. Before we get into that, it's time to talk about things we've done, did, do's, and all that. It hasn't even been a week yet, so respectfully, probably not that much happening. Let me think if there's anything I wanna. Let me do a quick Shonen Jump scroll. The Chainsaw Man chapter was certainly something.
Yeah.
It wasn't the chapter of Chainsaw Man.
Do continue to be that. Boy, am I now maybe a little worried that the hockey in Dog's Red is going to be a little too confusing for me on actual manga paneling. Things certainly did happen this week.
Yeah.
No, did they even like actually play any hockey?
I think.
Sean, I think the worst part of that sentence is you said hockey and I didn't think of this fort.
We got a new manga this week in Shonen Jump, Hakataku. It's fine. It's maybe the most different art style that we have right now. Cause it's very old. It's very old in terms of like what it makes you think of in terms of like the style to it. I'll have more thoughts on that when we actually get there. Boy, do I like this JJK chapter. I just wish
we had more than one chapter left.
Yeah. And also, was this the week was there... Hold on a minute. Oh, this was just the week. This was the character role week. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this could have been a really neat chapter. I'm also potentially maybe not a fan of one particular thing they do. But I just assume he's not going to bring it up again. I assume he's just going to leave the character's face covered and we're never going to talk about it. Because if that's the case, I fucking hate that. Yeah, I'm excited for this last chapter to come out Saturday so that I can decide whether I like this or Mashal more. And decide, but that I mean decide which ending I like less, this or Mashal. I think I said it before. I think it's gonna be Mashal's ending, unfortunately.
I think it's gonna be Mashal anyways.
Because what I think is gonna happen is I'm actually gonna really like this ending on JJK, and what a weird comment. I love you, Sakifa. What a weird fucking comment.
I always forget I should like have the YouTube open to like.
What do you mean?
Things.
What do you mean by boring? What makes it boring? Because it has no design.
What has no design?
He's talking about Mason's hoodie.
Oh.
I know him, so I know this is a compliment, but it's the weirdest worded fucking sentence I've ever heard, my dude. What I was saying.
I think.
What I was saying. What I was saying is that I I think I'm gonna, from how this build-up went for the newest chapter, I think I'm actually gonna really like the end, like the last chapter, and I'm gonna like the ending. I'm just gonna have hated everything leading up to it. For JJK.
Sounds alright.
Kagurabachi based, cool new character, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
New marriage toxin arc is incredible. Yo, Elbath's happening.
Yeah, it
We think.
certainly is
We
happening.
think.
I would be so surprised if that's not Elbath.
I think it is simply because of Usopp's design.
We also saw a giant, I'm pretty sure, talking about them fucking
With-
things up. So I'm pretty...
I know, we know it is, but like, where is everybody else?
Well, that's a problem
Where's the
for
ship?
later. We will figure out whatever the fuck's going on, but...
We lost the ship.
Real quick, let me do my run through of where I'm at on recent things on Manga Plus. Last week I talked about the fact that people are worried that The God Before Me and Gozi Hataro are both gonna end because they have time skips. Gozi Hataro is confirmed to be ending on its next chapter. Very sad because I caught up to that. It's very good. And if it was given time to actually flesh out its entire story, that shit would have been incredible. It'll probably be okay still. I have no confirmation on The God Before Me, so I'll be interested to see whatever that's doing. I finished Shibatarian. No comments. Nope, I'm not legally allowed to comment on that. Besides the fact of, hold on, I sent this outside of... chat. Let me get it. Let me get it for John. The guy. So I was in call with Michael and Mason, and I was reading Shibatarian. Which while I was reading Shibatarian, I was in the bathroom and I was reading Shibatarian, and it's a little bit of a spooky read. And a spider fucking turned the corner of my shower curtain, and I had to kill it in the middle of lots of things. That was fun.
Understandably panicked.
Yeah, but I came back into the room and I read the entire rest of Shibatarian, and I was actively making noises in this call. A whole batch of them, and I was like, look, I don't know how to describe to you what's happening right now without spoiling anything, so I can't do that, but here's one panel I can send about the end of Shibatarian.
Forgot.
The United States Space Force.
Space Force.
Shibatarian is fucking wild. Really, so that wound up ending. It's done. Its final chapter was 36 chapters. Yeah, it's neat. They do something really fucking funny. I want to say around like chapter 20. I can actually probably figure out. I want to say around like 33, maybe, is when they do something fun, something ridiculous, a little silly. Outside of that, the other thing I had largely read, because I had mostly caught up to everything else last week, was I caught all the way up to Kindergarten Wars. Oh my fucking god, that manga. If that gets adapted, that shit's gonna go hard. It's a very good comedy manga that is also a romance, and also occasionally super serious. There were a couple of knives that got shoved into my chest catching up, and those were fun, very fun. Those characters are lovely. I love them all. Nothing bad happens in Kindergarten Wars. So Kindergarten Wars does that thing that certain shows do, and mangas do, where they, have, it's a show about, I don't know how loosely I've talked about it. It's about a group of former assassins or criminals, largely, usually assassins, but criminals broadly, who basically get scouted by the government, and they go, okay, you're going to serve this kindergarten for 1 year. You're going to protect all these kids of the important people for 1 year. If you do it, you get to go free. So a bunch of nonsense in terms of high-level, high-stakes, high-danger fights happen in this kindergarten. And then eventually they just go, what if we just put a child here? And a child says something to this heartless human being who's supposed to be unredeemable. And that heartless human being's heart beats again for the first time because it's a child in front of them and they're innocent and pure. And then it reminds you of that over and over and over again, no matter what's happening on screen, that there are children who love these people. How unfortunate. What a great manga. It is still ongoing. I don't know how long that's gonna go for. It's hard to say, but it's very good. I have started playing Astrobot. That game's good. I don't have too much to say because I'm not that far into it. It's just more of what Astro's Playroom was, which is good. I put a little bit of time into it. It's fun. I bought UFO 50 today and played a couple of the games in that. That's a nice little collection of like older style games put into like kind of a collection pack that are all made by a bunch of different developers. Very good. I'm enjoying my time. Some of the games are definitely not for me that I've tried out, but some of them have me interested. It does certainly feel like I am also playing like an older Capcom arcade collection sometimes, where it's like this mini game is about running around and painting the floor and not getting outpainted by other cars. Kill the cars. Kill all the cars and have more paint. It's a Mario Party mini game, but it's like a little pocket game. It's cool. It's neat. Some of them I don't understand yet. Some of them... I put it into one of those games. I moved like 5 steps, died, and went, let's try this again. I need to understand what's going on. What on the screen kills me, what on the screen doesn't kill me. What do you mean this is Snake? Like the game Snake. How did you make a new version of Snake? Interesting. That is fun though. I'm trying to think. There's been anything else. I think outside of the little bit of Fortnite we played, no. think that's it for me.
I read Otokonoko and stuff, and I can't talk about that by law.
Not yet.
Outside of that,
not until we all catch up one day. Next season,
Pokemon's
that's when
been
it will
fun.
be.
The global challenge finished, which you're done with the global challenges. It's kind of like playing online best of one closed team sheet, which means you don't get any information. It's just a best of one, so anything could happen. Which is really, really fun because you have to play up to, if not including 45 games of best of one on cart. And because on midnights, I get to play against all the people who are absolute degens and are cooking monstrosities. I did okay, didn't do great this time. I had like a pretty good placing. I was in like the top like 600 players in it, which was good for like 20 championship points. And then I just like played more games, and that was a mistake. And so I bowed out and finished like 1600 or something. So it's probably out of points, but that's okay. A lot of our group did that as well. But besides that, just getting ready for Louisville next month in like 3 weeks now. I had my anniversary with Amber this weekend, so that's fun.
Congrats.
Ooh, 2 years. And outside of that, just kind of playing Pokemon and working, getting ready for events and stuff on my end. We did play a bunch of League this week. Amber did successfully get to gold. Whether or not Amber is the one that got to gold, or whether or not she was assisted in getting to gold, I refuse to comment on. However, she will indeed be getting her Sona skin, and that is what matters.
So her account's in gold. So
her account is certainly in gold, and her Lux mid actually was incredibly potent and suddenly was able to farm like 10 CS a minute. It's the craziest thing, actually. But yeah, after slaughtering some poor silver and gold players, Amber is now in gold and gets her free skin, which is fun because it was a Sona skin. Was the whole point of this. But outside of that, not much going on my end. Just kind of playing against. Oh, I got new plushies in the mail, as you can see by the collection of Reggies over my shoulder here, and the 2 Hanses right here that are so cute. Look at them.
Mm-hmm.
Look at him. Look at his derpy ass, fucking ice horse looking ass, and then the woofy hair. I like shaking it around because it's like at high speed because it's broken. This little broken fucking horse. I hate this stupid fucking horse. Anyways, I don't gotta see him for like.
That's
4
both
months,
both
okay.
the horses. What do you mean?
Especially this one. 150 speed, 165 attack with 120 base power spread move that has no drawbacks and can't miss. Yeah, very balanced. Great job, Pokemon.
All I'm saying is a funny ice horse won worlds. That's all I'm saying. He's my silly ice horse. I love him.
I love Ice Horse too, but he's fucking broken. I hate it.
Well, yeah, correct. They're both insane.
They're absolutely shattered broken. But yeah, excited to play some Pokemon again. I've been cooking up some teams. Not quite sure what I want to play, but Dortmund regional, which is like one in Europe, is this weekend. And probably just gonna cop some good teams off that, if not just play something balance oriented and hope for the best. But oh, also fun fact: Showdown recently released a extension for your browser that I call the anti-ADHD tool. Because what it is it's a tool that locks you out of selecting your moves for a certain amount of seconds. So you have to actually sit there and think of what you're going to do. Which I'm like, great. I can't wait to time out because of my ADHD.
That's funny.
It's great. It's wonderful. What are you about to do, Mason?
So
About that.
I caught up to Black Clover. Did that
Yep.
like right after last podcast. That manga's so fucking good, dude. Like, I feel so bad for anime only enjoyers because
Listen,
it certainly ends right before my favorite fight in all of manga. And then aside from that, played Fortnite a bit. I've done more TFT and Plat 3 again, I believe.
let's go.
Yeah, steadily climbing before the end of the season.
World started.
Worlds did start.
That's right.
We have
that was
Linkin
today.
Park song.
What do you think about the song?
I haven't listened to all of it. I like it. It's
Good song doesn't fit.
yeah, that's about where I'm at with it.
It's kind of where it is with like the Little Nas X one, right? Where it's like, yes, the song is kind of a banger, doesn't really feel like the League song though. And I think the music
Yeah.
video has moments where it's like, oh, this is sick, absolutely sick. Faker walking out, the final boss throwing off the robe and stuff, absolutely sick moment. And then it cuts to fucking Linkin Park out of nowhere, and you're like, I don't care about them. I'm sorry. I love Linkin Park, but like they're not the point.
But like now we have two dad rock bands that are canonically in Runeterra.
Dude, Linkin Park's winning the world championships this year. I don't care what you're saying.
Aside from that, played a little Yu-Gi-Oh. Played some Master Duel. And that's about
played a silly
it. I
game.
haven't.
Did you talk about the silly game?
Which silly game?
Nightmare Cart?
Oh yeah, I did play a silly game.
I
So
need to download that game.
yeah, so a funny thing has been out for a minute, but I found out that it actually came out and it's free to play, called Nightmare Cart. Also known before the cease and desist from Sony as Bloodborne Cart.
Oh yeah.
It is a really solid kart racer that also has a full campaign, including like normal races, several battles, and also boss battles. And the final fight of it, Sean watched me bash my face into it numerous times.
Yeah, until I went to bed.
Yeah, and then I beat it literally the time after you went to bed, or the try after you went to bed. The game's very good, especially for a free-to-play game. It's very funny. Watching definitely not Father Cascoin ride a motorcycle and then a Kira slide into turning into a werewolf is one of the funniest things I've ever had to say.
That
And
game,
It makes
also
sense of
see-
context, we promise.
that game is
Yeah,
silly.
it definitely does. It's very silly. But it's very good. Highly recommend. It is free, so check it out. I think that's about all I've done. I have my usual Marvel. Marvel is very fun. I enjoy being a silly man with a large green thumb.
Hulk?
That's the neat part. His power set is Gamma mutation. So what happened to Hulk? But it's just the thumb. He's running for mayor of New York.
Based.
He's got a green thumb, guys. Trust us. He's a good candidate.
Exactly. It's
And
wonderful.
that's politics.
That's it. It's gonna be so green. You're gonna be sick of all the green. You're gonna be like, please, Mr. President, stop making
So,
everything
Michael,
so
what are you
green,
up to?
okay?
Well, so I've gotten a little farther in Astra Lost in Space. I'm at chapter like 22-ish of it right now.
Astro.
Yeah, absolutely. The manga starts off kind of slow. We're now hitting like these characters have been together in these situations long enough. They're being forced into being like. There's a lot of real deep shit that's come out recently about these characters, these chapters. It's wild. Astra Lost in Space is very good.
You're like almost done. You're like halfway there.
Yeah, it's like 50 chapters. Just crazy.
Yeah.
Because at the pace they're going, they I mean, I know this manga, I assume, ends abruptly.
From what I was seeing about it, the general consensus was, it didn't feel like a rushed end, but that doesn't mean anything.
Okay. Because
That was,
I mean, I guess
that was the conversation. Basically, what I was seeing was people said I could have seen it going on longer to talk about this, and some people said no, I don't think that actually was ever the intention. It seems like it ends about where the mangaka might have wanted it to.
I'm
But
trying
you
to remember
never
how
know.
many planets they say they're gonna use, and I'm at the 3rd planet right now. The 3rd planet they land on. So I don't remember. I want to say it was. I guess if it is 7 planets, then it's not that bad, pacing wise. As I imagine later planets are gonna be a little faster, because we're gonna have less shenanigans into it, or more shenanigans. We don't know. Yeah, Ash is very good. So a friend of mine, recently, a crazy thing to do recently with how old this game is at this point. He purchased Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. That game's zombies mode is really really fun to just dick around in. It's a zombies mode. It's a COD zombies. They're just
Also
fun.
really broken, I think, if I remember correctly.
Wait, what?
Was that one of like the more broken COD zombies?
I mean, it functions.
I know it had like the OG maps, right? Like it was the first one, right? World of War.
A Cold War.
Oh, Cold War. I think
So
it said
this
World
was
at War.
no. So this was Treyarch's most recent game before the one that's coming out in a month or whenever the fuck the game comes out. And this game started what people like to call the Warzone-ifying of zombies.
Oh, where it's the open world one.
Well, so that is one of the maps in the game. They're yeah. So there's 4 like round-based maps. Then there's the 5th. It's called Outbreak. It's the big like open world. You walk around essentially in like what are like the large multiplayer maps, like the really large scale ones. That mode's really fun. At least in my opinion, because it's a very low stakes. Like you and a friend just enter that and vibe for 2 hours. Like, eventually it does scale to being fucking crazy because the zombies, as you go from map to map, speed up very quick. Like to a, like that in that like map 7 is the equivalent of like round 40. Zombies are moving at you. They're going, you know, it's a time. But Outbreak's fun. That game in general is just it's a very easy zombies game. It's by far the easiest of the ones that we have. But it's fun to just vibe in those maps. Just exist. Yeah, it's just a good time vibing in that. Also play a little bit of Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, very fun game. I had been not playing it a ton, because kind of just like I did like the big grind that is getting Pirate Legend in that game, and then kind of just slowly teetered off from it. Fell off it. There's been a lot of like really big quality of life updates in the past like year and a half to 2 years. The game's just really fun to play now, because they added a like dedicated PvP mode that's good. Like unlike the old dedicated PvP mode that was bad. So a lot of the like really annoying PvP gigasweats are filtered out into where the other PvP gigasweats are. Because I'm a Sea of Thieves player who doesn't really like the game's PvP. I think that it just kind of feels bad most of the time, probably because I'm bad at it and don't care to get good at it. I just also think that like the one-on-one combat in it feels terrible, and that's like what determines a lot of the encounter. But whatever. Yeah. Sea of Thieves is a fun video game if you're doing the PvE stuff. Also, there's a you can load into dedicated PvE worlds now, and that's also really cool. It like cuts the amount of money you earn like to a third, but like that's fair because you have zero
Negative
danger.
Yeah.
I also spent a few dollars. Like this was like a week and a half ago. I got this to purchase a silly little game called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I've been playing that. I've played that a little bit in here and in another call.
Are you a millionaire?
No. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire loves to hit you with the most nonsense trivia ever. even in like categories we know, it hits us with the most nonsense trivia ever. It's a great time, except for the parts where it's bad. It's a great time.
It's good.
Because
It's great.
yeah, favorite part about Who Wants to Be a Millionaire has to be that the dialogue in like this specific version on Steam feels like I like this. I've described it multiple times as Big Bang Theory without the laugh track. So it's just like a character will talk, and then there's 3 seconds of nothing, waiting for another character to talk, and it's really funny. Play a little bit Deadlock. Game's fun. Outside of that, I have I don't think I've technically beaten Pokemon Scarlet yet, because look, I think I've done like the entire post game. I got through Area Zero. I did the Area Zero section, so I entered Area Zero, did that thing. Because now I have the gym leader refights.
No, go complete the Pokedex.
I've been catching Mons as I've been walking around, so I do have like a decent chunk in them. It's just going to be a lot of evolving now.
If you need the Violet ones, just let me know.
Yeah, and that's also the thing is I'm going to need all of the Violet paradoxes, all of the Violet exclusives.
I can touch trade you. Do you want some to have just for your like to have in general? Because I could just give you whatever you need, basically.
I don't know what I'm really. I don't even know what Mons are exclusive to Violet. That's the thing.
The paradox.
Like I know Ceruledge and I know the paradoxes. That's about it.
That's pretty much most of them actually. Like the game is actually really balanced in terms of like not trying to limit too much of like what the player can get. I know one game gets Salamence, one game gets I think it's Hydreigon. So like your Scarlet gets Hydreigon, Violet gets Salamence, but Violet gets the Salamence one, or Violet gets the Hydreigon Iron Jugulus.
Yeah, it gets Iron Jugulus. Well,
Scarlet gets the other
I
one.
get Raging Moon or Roaring Moon.
Here you go.
Roaring Goat. Roaring Mid, as we call it in the competitive scene.
Largely older stuff. Scarlet gets the Vulpix line, the Alolan one, whereas Violet gets the Sandshrew. Tauros difference, water and fire. I believe.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Paldean Tauros.
Are those even different Mons, the Tauros variants?
So if you have like Cantonian Tauros, it won't count towards your Pokedex being done. Fun fact. You need to get specifically Paldean Tauros.
But the default Paldean Tauros, like just
no,
the
as long as you have a
one?
Paldean Tauros, it counts for all three.
Okay,
They're just variants of the same Pokemon.
This is always going to be Scarlet first, Violet second. So Gligar, Apom being swapped.
You have Gligar. I remember that being an issue with
good
me.
mon of that. Oh my god.
Mischievous' line for Scarlet, Drifloom for actually sorry, other way around. Drifloom for
yeah, I'm like
Scarlet.
I have a Drifloon.
Mischievous' line for
or
Violet. Larvitar line for Scarlet. Cranidos for Scarlet. Skunk Tank for Scarlet.
We get Shield on and
Hydreigon's
probably.
line, Skrelp's line,
Skrelp.
Oranguru, Cramorant, Stonejourner.
Oh yeah,
Stone
I did
Journer.
see that I had Stonejourner, and I didn't like the fact that Ice-Q and Stonejourner are opposites.
Yeah, and then
Like I know they are.
paradoxes. So
Yeah, then the past for the future paradoxes.
what is the trade-off for? Is it Stunky and the trade-off is Gulpin?
Stunky and Perugly. Like Purrloin and Perugly.
No, it's not. It's Gulpin.
That's funny.
I guess they're both poison types.
Yeah, that's the
Open
only
these
thing that I
nuts, got
could
'em.
see that matches up. And Skrelp's opposite would be Clauncher's line,
Or yes, they're both same gen.
and then obviously Passinian, and then Stonejourner and Morapeko?
Interesting. They're from
It
different
should-
games.
Or
No,
Cramorant and
the same game.
Morapeko?
It-
Maybe
it-
that's
it-
what it is.
Yeah, it should be Stonejourner and Ice-Q.
Ice-Q, yep. So then it would be Morapeko and Cramorant.
Because the gimmick is both of them were designed to be things used in the raids in Gen 8, because they have like a gimmick for it. Ice-Q can take a hit completely for free.
Yeah.
Stonejourner has like,
Spot.
yeah, he's like the funny team buff.
Yeah. So that's
He's like
that's
Chen
largely
Hao,
what
but
you're-
worse.
Outside of the paradoxes, that's what you're
But yeah,
missing out on.
but the Area Zero segment is so fucking cool. I loved that segment of the game. Outside of the part where you're forced to walk through it, because
Yeah,
you can't bring out your
But
ride.
your like is scared.
Yeah, it is a very large area to walk through, and it does get kind of annoying.
Walk,
But, like,
fight,
it's
battle,
it's still
dialogue.
visu-
Walk,
it's
fight,
still-
battle,
yeah.
dialogue. Walk, fight, battle, dialogue.
But It also is
RPG.
weird that there aren't as many encounters there as I would have expected. Like, legitimately, 50% of the things you see are Giraffarig while walking down there. I legitimately saw
It's
probably
just
about
until you
100
beat it,
Giraffarig.
and then a lot more things get down there, like
Okay.
Jumpluff spawns, Talonflame spawns.
No, Talonflame and
Volcarona
Jump are all down there.
spawns,
They're just in lower portions of it.
But
It's just like the top is Venomoth and
Metacham can
Giraffarig.
spawn, I think, as well up there. I remember because when I was shiny hunting for drafts, you could find you'd pop Metacham like 5 packs.
Fair.
But
I also haven't even
That's good.
interacted with. I haven't eaten a single sandwich in that game. I've yet to
Bro.
even like try interacting with that.
honestly, fair. Unless you're shiny hunting, they're actually pretty OP for finding Pokemon too, though. But a lot of the shops will like sell you them, so you can just like buy.
Yeah, but all the
sandwiches
shops
and
use
things.
like the super low level sandwiches, so like I don't care.
Yeah, but encounter power 1 is all you need for certain things.
Yeah, I just haven't even like tried doing it yet.
It's a shiny hunter thing. So I
Fair.
have to
Talking
do it.
about shinies, I did get I have caught one random encounter shiny in this game.
Let's go. What'd you get?
I have a shiny Floette that I got from like immediately walking into
Wait, that's like
Area Zero.
completely accidental because there's no way you fucking saw it.
No, it was. I saw a random Floette, walked out. I was like, I don't remember them being purple. That's
Yeah.
a little weird.
No.
Cheatable.
The thing is, they are purple. The only thing that changes is the body of the Floette.
That's what
the
you said.
color,
Yeah,
the
the,
color
the
flowers
body,
do not.
the body goes from green to purple. Like
Yeah, like the green tendrils turn to purple, and also the
Which
eyes
is-
turn to like blue instead of black or whatever.
I think the hardest one I found on accident was Slowpoke. Which,
Fair.
if you haven't, which Slowpoke goes from pink to a slightly lighter shade of pink.
Or favorite.
I don't think you understand. I walked into every single Raichu I saw in Area Zero because I know the Pikachu line has a very small difference in shinies.
Fun fact: if you don't want to just walk in every battle, if you auto battle, your Pokemon will not knock out shiny Pokemon.
Okay.
So that'll be a
'Cause-
trigger for hard to find
Because
shinies.
funnily enough, the game does have a like you have fought this many shinies counter.
Mhm.
I think my counter's at 10 now because I've gotten a bunch of shinies through Wonder Trading that were all hacked into the game that I've henceforth released. I think
Evolution's
one of
count
them I
too.
sent back into the Wonder Trade loop, but like everyone else I've released.
Oh, I wonder what my count is. It's probably like over 100. But good
Anything
game.
yeah.
else, Michael?
Even if there wasn't, we should probably start talking about anime on the anime
Fair
podcast.
enough.
True.
Pokemon is
Tis-
technically an anime.
Yeah, but we ain't talking about it like one. So let's. For reference, by the way, if you did want to look at that spoilered Kindergarten Wars image I put in chat, I also double spoilered it. So
Yeah, I
it's
saw.
spoiled, and it's spoiled, and then I censored the spoiler thing in it.
It was one of those things where you
'Cause I
sent it. I was
care.
like, "There's no way you're sending that spoiler because that'd be a crazy thing to send." Like, yeah, you can look at that when you've read the manga. That's so silly.
That you might not never read.
Yeah, it'd be such a silly thing to send. I was like, he probably did that. Then
Yeah,
I see
but
it's blacked out.
That's a
on
really
top
good
of it.
example of the kind of shit I'm talking about. But, ladies and gentlemen, 5 shows remain. We're gonna get on into it, and we have our power ranking for this week. The top of the 2 is the one we are looking at on stream. Follow the arrows. It's power ranking. It's tough. I know for a handful of us, ignore the things that aren't in 1 and 2 maybe, and then shuffle them around, and that's what makes
wow,
Oh,
what a
this.
diverse power ranking this week, guys.
You know, Michael, I really like your power ranking. What a good power ranking you got this week.
What am I looking at? I was doing that as you were saying. Yeah, pretty cool power ranking you got there.
But let's dive into things. That means I need this. Look at the name of the show. We start with Senpai. This week we pick off with our boys walking home. They are walking home, and Makoto's trying to figure out what to say after having been dumped by his boyfriend, abruptly in a movie theater. And
Post-date.
Ryuji just kind of goes, "We're all good. This was fine. We'll
is
be
fine."
we'll be fine." Ryuji then goes to Aoi's house to cry, and get buried in whales. She just fucking buries this man in whales. He's like, I don't like that I did this, but it was what I had to do. And she's like, whales, 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 power them on. Meanwhile, Makoto is on his way home, and is trying to figure out what he could have said or done differently. Makoto does not understand how this works at all. Because Makoto thinks to himself, well, if I was a girl, I could just date Ryuji no problem. No, that's actually not how that works, my friend. You have not quite realized this yet, have you? Which just goes to show that Makoto probably doesn't really have a good understanding of love yet. That he does not understand Ryuji's view on this situation. And that the problem is, in fact, that not that he is not a woman, but that he is indeed a man. And so we go back to school the next day, and boys are not talking to each other. They have put distance between themselves. To which Allie goes, "Hey, what the fuck? You aren't gonna go say hi to Ryuji?" Makoto goes, "No, I think it's for the best if I don't." And Allie stops, looks at Makoto and goes, "No, no, no," and then runs to the roof to go talk to Ryuji. He goes, "What the fuck did you do? What happened? I was gone for like a day. What happened?" And Ryuji's like, "Look, this is for the best." And he's also taking out his ear piercings. And now he goes, "I need to find a solution to this." Meanwhile, she has stuff going on in her life. Her aunt came to pick up her grandmother from the hospital. They went home together, and her aunt wanted to talk to her grandmother, presumably about the fact that her grandmother lives alone with her granddaughter, and is having health issues, and perhaps that isn't the best living situation to have. Before we get to more of this, Allie talks with her grandmother. Her grandmother goes, "You're worried about something. That's weird. Normally you just go do something and deal with the thing you're worried about before worrying about it." And she goes, "That's a genius idea, Grandma. I'm gonna go do something about this." And she individually, separately texts the boys to get them to come to an amusement park. To which they go, "Why did you do this?" And she goes, "Nah, gotcha. Can't leave now. Trapped." Pop quiz.
L ratio.
Pop quiz. How far away can whales communicate? And the guys both take a different way to think about it. And she goes, "You're both losers. Way farther. The water's deep. Things run deep here. It's complicated. You are not whales. Thus, you must talk to each other face to face. Go." We get a nice moment where Awie's like, "You guys did this for me. You came to visit me to make me feel better. Now I'm gonna help you by making you have to socially interact with each other after your breakup." Makoto's like, "I want to talk to you, so this is good. Like, I want to have a real conversation." And then they go and ride a bunch of roller coasters and don't get the chance to talk until they get on the Ferris wheel. They do have a little bit before that, where they're on the bench. They're over there on the bench. And Makoto's like, "Yeah, when we were kids, there was a part of me that didn't know how to interact with you, and kind of didn't like you because it kind of felt like you were bullying me. And there was a moment in time where I wished you disappeared. I prayed to God that you would vanish." And then Makoto goes, "And then we played hide and seek, and then you wouldn't come out, and I got real worried that I did something, and I wasn't happy about that, and it made me cry." And Ryuji was like, "Damn, what the fuck's going on here?" They go on the Ferris wheel together, and they talk, and what they come up with is, this is not what either of them want. They both don't like being apart from each other, but Ryuji raises the point of, "Are you going to be okay if I never get over the fact that I love you?" And Makoto's like, "Well, I don't want to just not ever see you again because of that, so I'm gonna have to. Why don't we start trying to do anything? Let's start eating lunch together again. That'll be our start." And they have that moment. Meanwhile, Awie's back home. Also in that scene, Makoto tells Ryuji that Ryuji's like, "You're doing better at, like, not shying away or hiding the fact that you love all the cute things. Like, you are actively growing as a person. That's good to see." And Makoto's like, "Yeah, I would like to tell my mother about that." We'll come back to that momentarily. Put it aside. Meanwhile, Allie overhears her grandmother talking with her aunt, and she kind of leaves the house, is up in a tree, hears a woman shake the thing at a shrine, falls out of the tree, and it's her mom. fucking children falling out of trees right in front of their mothers. She
God, I
catches
wish I
up.
could see my daughter.
God works in mysterious ways. So Allie and her mom
God,
catch up a
the
bit.
word for
They want to meet again, to actually catch up and have a real conversation. Allie goes home and tells her grandmother about it, and her grandmother goes, "No, you're not allowed to do that. Come straight home." Meanwhile, Makoto goes home, comes home, and his mom goes, "Your hair's getting long. I'm gonna schedule you a haircut. This weekend sound good?" And he goes, "No." And she goes, "What?" And he goes, "No. I could do that. I get to make that decision." And she goes, "Oh, okay." And she leaves the room and goes, "Oh, I almost overstepped my bounds. It's okay. My son isn't like this other person." There is a shot of a wedding ring on that person's hand, which makes me think that maybe it's his dad, which would also explain why there is already a separation in this family, even before stuff with Makoto started happening, and why his dad's so accepting of it. That would be my guess, but it could literally be anybody, because we're bringing this one out of left field. So Aoi goes to school. She tries to get advice from her friends. She then pulls Ryuji and Makoto and is like, "Hey, I want to go meet my mom, but my grandmother doesn't want me to. Can you like come with me to make sure my mom's not a weirdo?" And so they go with her to make sure her mom's not a weirdo. Ryuji has a very interesting line here where he sees her mom and goes, "She looks familiar." And then they go, "You should go see your mom, though, because if you want to see your mom, you get the right to make that decision." She goes, "Okay," and she runs off to go see her mom. And her mom takes her to a place where they get lots of sweets. They chat for a bit. She brings up the idea of Aoi living with her. It makes Aoi cry. Aoi gets her mom's phone number. Her mom is like, "I probably shouldn't come into your house because your grandmother might crucify me. Now's not probably a good time." Aoi goes back in her house, and grandmother goes, "Where have you been? You are past your curfew. I would indeed like to know if you saw your mother. You did, didn't you?" And Aoi goes, "Yeah, I have her number. I don't get why I can't make the decision to see my mother." And her grandmother goes, "Okay, you know what? Give me your phone. I'm going to call and talk to your mom." And we end on that. Surely nothing bad's going to happen there. I really like this episode. Just continually moving our plot pieces along. Kind of bringing us to resolve some of the bigger moments still that are kind of left hanging in the series. Stuff with Makoto's identity. Because there is also an element in this episode where why Makoto's having a hard time figuring out how to interact with Ryuji here is that he is still trying to figure out what's the right way or the normal way to react to situations without messing it up, worrying that, he's gonna make decisions that are wrong. He also has a nightmare where Aoi and Ryuji just bail on him and chastise him immensely. I almost forgot about that. That does indeed happen here. I really like this episode.
This episode felt super fucking long to me. Like, it felt like it just kept going. Which
That
can be
happens.
good and can be bad, because it felt like it kind of dragged a little bit for me, at least. I like what it's doing with the characters. I'm just not sure. It feels like it keeps doing this thing where it's like, character has hidden meaning behind things, so you're gonna actually feel bad for them when you should feel bad for them. And it's like, can't we just let some people be bad, I guess, and not like, some people can just be like, obviously they have their reasons, but like, we don't have to redeem every single character every single time in a lot of these shows, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of how I look at it. It's
what
like,
it's worth-
sometimes you need that foil to help sharpen the main
Yeah.
character.
For what it's worth, I don't think... My hope is that the stuff with his mother is not... With Makoto's mom is not setting out to redeem or justify her, but more just setting out to maybe give Makoto another person to help figure out his problems. Like, because if Makoto learns about this, he then actively has a person he can talk to who's been through something similar.
Yes, but it's reminding me kind of like how, like, what Wistoria is doing, which we'll get to that as well, where it's like, this character that's totally irredeemable and terrible, actually, he's a good guy all along. He's actually the good guy. It's fine. Which, again, there's some benefits and some negatives to it. I think that sometimes there is nice to have, like, that character who is just, like, the kind of mean character for reasons or for not. But I feel like this show's just trying to do a lot of that right now, where it's, like, setting up stuff but like also kind of showing us stuff to like tease it for later. but then it just doesn't feel as big of like a surprise because it's just kind of like hinting at like, oh, this thing happened. We'll get to that kind of thing, I guess.
I guess I think I mean I don't know if I think I can understand like where that point's coming from, but I don't think it doesn't feel like that's what this show's doing with any of its characters. I don't feel like it's trying to I guess it's trying to justify things, but it's nice to have that like know why people feel exact ways about things. Like with how negative his mom is towards that, it feels weird to not go like into exactly why Makoto's mom has this exact kind of thing. I imagine we have only scratched the tippy top of the surface of the stuff with Aoi's mom, because it feels way too simple to be, oh, she didn't have money so she left. That doesn't make sense to me. There has to be something more, that the grandma has such a negative, like, she is going to be a problem. Which we also see she immediately spoils Aoi, because she's trying to pull Aoi away from her. Is what that immediately feels like. She is splurging to try to pull Aoi away.
I have a guess about this. Because I was going to get the screenshot and I was like, what on earth? How on earth could Ryuji have this reaction? I'm like, what would give Ryuji a reason to think he's seen Aoi's mother before? And the only thread in the show that I feel like is open is the stalker stranger at the school. Because initially your brain wants to assume it's a guy. And then we get the bit where the stalker's at Aoi's house.
He's cracked the case wide open.
And we assume it's her father because of how he enters, and it makes it unnerving. And it's like, maybe Ryuji saw a sketch of the person. Maybe Ryuji saw an outline of the person at some point in time. And and that's when my brain's like, well, if she's really overbearing, if she's constantly been trying to constantly been watching Aoi from afar in a really creepy way, her grandmother would know about it, right? Like, her grandmother maybe has shot down weird attempts at getting to her before, which is why she might be hesitant. That's just my guess, because I still think that's a crazy-ass thing to introduce in the middle of an episode and not do anything with. So, like, that's my gut feel, like, from, like, my little brain blast.
Ooh, no.
Sean, that's cooking. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty cooking.
You're kind of chefing there. I could see. I see the vision.
I kind of dig it. I see the vision as well.
Because there was a much worse one that happened a little while ago, that after doing after comparing two images, I went, nope, okay, we're fine. Which was, her mom and Makoto's mom look a little similar. They're not the same character.
Yeah, absolutely. That's aligning up the bullet holes.
Yeah, that's aligning up the bullet holes, Michael. That's exactly where my brain went. That one's really dumb. Not worth considering.
What?
This one, though's got some. This one, I put some seasoning on that one.
Some sauce.
Yeah, Mason, what do you think?
So, I'm going to say this now. I do enjoy this episode, and I do enjoy this show. It isn't last for me, however, simply because it feels like it does the least out of the episodes that we had this week. It just kind of feels like we've set up a lot of stuff. Also, I'll be real, I think the mom plot point is fucking insane. I think it is stupidly wild that they just happen to run into each other once.
Out of a tree.
It just seems like a lot of, I feel like there are better ways to introduce the mom that make more sense than Aoi fell out of a fucking tree.
Now, I'm not here to justify it.
What if
she knows what tree she's in, and she knew the general area for the cab to drive by because she's been stalking her daughter.
Even better.
But I understand that's not a thing. Like, my whole thing's a theory that I'm pulling loose threads from. That if the show really wanted you to feel that at this point, you would have more concrete proof of. So I get it. I'm not trying to persuade you with my argument.
Fair.
I mean, I guess that's fair. It is on the slower end of the episodes. This show is on the slower end of the shows generally, but we also do still get the two major things, which the two characters having the talk with like a parent and going, "Hey, I want to do this thing," and the parent going, "Fair, you are like in high school.
About to be
You
an
aren't a
adult.
child."
Mhm.
Not like either parent. Doesn't feel like either parent believes this as they say, it, but like
Yeah,
It happens.
I can also totally see a spot where it's like it feels like the romance now is on the back burner as we're approaching the end, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because I think the important thing from this is that a lot of these kids just need to work themselves out before they work out the romance side of it. Like they just don't know enough about them yet, which I feel like is part of what's going on. I also don't necessarily think we're gonna fully sideline some of the romance stuff because Makoto certainly does still think about Aoi a lot in a way that we probably have to address it still. I still stand by that the only way we're all going to be happy is if they walk out of this just together.
As a throuple.
A throuple. The classic.
It sounded like they were slowly coming to that conclusion. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, come gaze at the star with us.
But the thing is, it still feels like for Yuji, very much still feels like he's not
Yeah,
in it
Ryuji's
that
the
kind of
only
way with
Ryuji's
Aoi.
the only one where it wouldn't work.
Like that's the really hard sell here is that one.
Which is fair. The man's gay. He's not really bi. He is kinda just gay. It'd be like that sometimes. I still really like this show. I think it's certainly done a lot more than what I maybe had expected. I think it's done exactly what I've wanted to do, and I've really liked it the whole way through. So I find a hard time having this be my week show for the week, or like overall even at this point. Like, I still really like it. I definitely still want to give it another week for sure. That's where I'll leave that thought. As we get ready for our next show, it is gonna be Alya time.
So, Alya this week, we have Masha, who's studying hard to try to like get a higher placement so he doesn't make Alya look bad for the final like closing statement of the election for student council president. He's trying to like look like a good vice president candidate and trying to get his grades up for once. So he's like, I gotta sit down and study. Oh shit, my show's on in like 30 minutes. Oh dude, if I go watch that show, I'm not coming back to studying. And instead, as he goes back to studying, he gets a phone call from Alya, who kind of just wanted to talk to him because she saw a scary movie, but didn't want to say that. So she calls him out of the blue, and they have a nice little cute chat. And they end up scheduling a, was it because of this they scheduled a date together? No, it's because they were hanging out after school and doing their usual banter. And then she was like, I feel bad because you never told me your birthday, so I must not be important enough. He's like, it just doesn't matter. Oh, you guys celebrate birthdays every year. Yeah, no, we don't do that over here in Japan. We don't give a shit. To which she basically pouted and forced him into like a date in which they're like, we're going to celebrate your birthday because I want to. So they end up going to this very nice restaurant that she's been to before with her family. And he's been to before, hoping that she hadn't because the venison's really expensive but very good. But it's lunchtime, so we're not going to order the special dinner time menus because they won't have them out. So they end up having the good venison anyways and discussing kind of the closing ceremonies. In which Alya gets very forward and does like the say moment, and everybody in the entire thing turns over with the fucking googly eyes and just goes, what the fuck is going on over there? And he's like, see, last time she could barely touch her spoon afterwards. There's no way she's gonna, and she's eating off the fork already. Don't you know that's an indirect kiss, woman? In which then she gives him a gift, which is like a cup that's very nicely thing. He's like, usually these come in pairs. And she's like, oh, you mean like the one I've had on my desk for months? And he's like, excuse me? And she's like, you like that idea, don't you? And then finally we have the student council office where they're kind of discussing an upcoming proposal to change the female uniforms. That's definitely not going to come up in the election debate. Definitely not, for sure, not going to be a major point in that.
I think it's all uniforms because it's just short sleeve for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was particularly the.
It's short sleeve for everyone. It's summer uniforms for everyone, for short sleeves.
But so basically they're talking about that, and they're like, hey, we finally got this approval through. In which then Masachika decides, hey, I'll stay afterwards and help you clean up the teacups because she made the tea and everything, which made Ayano sad because she usually does the tea because she's literally a maid. And so he stays back and cleans up, and he's like, hey, you good? And she's like, what did I say or do while I was hypnotized? And he's like, you gave us lots and lots of head pats. And she's like, okay, good. But you didn't see anything, right? And he's like, no, like a liar.
And it's
And
parent-teacher conferences.
Yeah, eventually she leaves to go to their parent-teacher conferences, which leaves him in the room alone with Yuki, who pouts on the table. And then he says the ultimate line, and he goes, nope, we're done. I'm not even going to repeat that line because I don't need that on recording. But it was amazing.
But you won't be a Discord mod?
Discord mod was great. To which we meet Masachika's other grandpa, who's the cool one, who reminds me of Shiragane's dad, who is the grandpa that is an absolute simp for Eastern European ladies, also known as Russian girls. Which, of course, naturally, Alya finishes with her mother at the same time that Masachika's waiting to go in for his interview, so they cross paths. And both parents are kind of teasing each other about it. And he talks to Alya, goes, hey, wouldn't you like to have Kuze as your last name? Wouldn't that be great? And then the mom's walking away with Alya and just goes, that does sound kind of nice, doesn't it? You'd like that, wouldn't you? It's wonderful. And then we end on the stinger of Yuki walking out with their mom, and obviously having this awkward interaction with Kuze and them. It's kind of a relief off as well. Then we have another new ED, which is cute. But I love this episode because I love the switch in dynamic of like, okay, now Alya's not the one being embarrassed, she's the one pushing him now, which is funny. And kind of like flipped it around. And overall, it's just funny. It was cute. It was great. I like this week a lot.
I wish we had a little bit of a reason for it, for why she suddenly switched, but I'm fine with it because it's cute nonetheless. I do realize this episode I thought it was really funny. A great time, good character moments.
The Discord mod comment fucking lost me, bro.
My only worry about this show heading towards top 3 is how much is going to get resolved this season of things we have set up. Which is a concern I also have for like Wistoria and Elusive, because they're all clearly much longer than what we're getting here. Alya's already greenlit for a season 2 in production, so it's like I really like the stuff we've been building with Masachika as a character, in like his backstory stuff. If we don't really get much of it here, and it's largely going to be saved for a season 2, it's going to hurt the show for me. Just a bit. I'm still gonna really like it. That said, like I said, there's also some elements of that I definitely feel hold true for like Wistoria as well. For sure. Elusive, I think, does not have that problem as much because it's so clearly a much longer story. Whereas like Wistoria and Alya both feel like, oh, we've been teeing up some of these things. I feel like we should really have gotten into them, or we will be getting into them in the last 2 episodes, and we might not. So like I have a little bit of hesitation there, but again, I really liked this episode this week. I thought it did a great job. This show's been killing it.
Yeah, we once again love these characters. We get so much good stuff with them this week. It's like we have the 2 of them going on their little datey date. We have the stuff with Masha. It's all just so good. Yuki is a yapper, as she always is. God, the fucking Yuki scene is insane.
It's so funny.
Absolutely wild scene that is. And Ayato sitting there in the corner, just existing.
I think it was one of their more like wholesome, funny moments that wasn't just like her being like, obviously it's her being a degen, but like to an acceptable degree. Right?
She certainly gets pushed a little far.
For what it's worth, I went to go grab a screenshot from this scene in the sub. I think the sub makes it a lot clearer that her like spit take reaction is a lot more of a like, wow, I can't believe you just fucking said something that cringe. Whereas in the dub it almost comes off as like a I was not prepared for that, my heart moment. I think the sub makes it a little more clear that like this is a moment between the 2 of them where they're both just being absolute fucking goofballs, which is good. There's a part, I'm pretty sure the dub doesn't use this phrasing. When him and Alya are talking in the cafe about the other team from the previous debate, In the sub, Masachika goes, yeah, that should cut down on the shit talking happening about her. And I'm like, I do not think they flat out used the term shit talk, in the dub. But I just thought that was an interesting little thing. I don't think they used that term.
They used it last week, but I'm pretty sure. But I don't think they used it this week.
Yeah, I said some naughty words in the dub. But
Mason, thoughts?
I really like this episode. I just think it's funny. It has like it's very solid in terms of like pushing the romance forward. It has moments of, oh, this is gonna hurt me. This is just a good episode. I just really enjoyed it. You guys kind of talked about the things that I talked in more in depth about the things that I enjoy about it. So
I like that Alya and Masachika's relationship has developed into like both of them being playful banter instead of like playful banter into thing in Russian into playful banter into thing in Russian.
Yeah.
Like there still is that aspect to it, but it's also just very much it's just like, well, now she's the one engaging in the playful banter, right? And it kind of it helps like develop both of them as characters because it's like, yeah, he's gonna get embarrassed by this stuff too because like he now is getting attacked by it while also having to deal with the Russian in the background. He's like losing his fucking mind about it.
It's a good slice of life it's a good slice of life romance dynamic. It's nice to have.
Just poggies, as the kids would say.
So next on up, we're going over to Wistoria. This week, the gang is still on the 10th floor. In fact, they have been on the 10th floor for quite a while.
11th floor. Right?
11th, thank you, my bad. They are still on the 11th floor. They've been on the 11th floor for quite a while. We pick up right where we left off, though, with Will and Wignall kind of going back and forth about Wignall's comment last week about him being a laggard. And he explains, he grew up with the other elves, and if Will was paying attention to the structure of the school, he would notice there's not a single other fucking elf in this school anymore. Wignall's the only one left. He's the only elf still left here. And that's because his magic is not to the same level that everybody else is, especially not his illusion. And we get a flashback with him and the Wind Magiavander, and showing the, oh, look at me, we're good childhood friends, I am doing magic. Here, take my wand, you do your magic. And she fucking grows an entire tree of a forest, creates an entire forest with a massive tree, and gets taken away seemingly by the much higher up portion of the elven community. So he has the similar motivation as Will to continue to train harder because he does not have... He still has an innate talent boost over someone like Will who does not have magic, but he is, as he said, a laggard in compared to the rest of the elves. And we get that opening shot of him training in the training hall, and you see Will shadow watching him. And Will's like, hey, we don't do this negative self-talk shit here on this floor or we're gonna die. You're gonna be okay. You're cracked as fuck, dude. Like, I can't do what you do. And I think your magic's dope as fuck and really strong. So we need to get out of here, though. So I'm gonna need you to just preserve your magic and we're gonna be fine. We keep going and Will is just kicking the shit out of some mobs, just tons of them, and Wignall occasionally gives a slight assist and is like, I don't get him. I don't get how he can do this. The man is literally getting ready to die for me. This is not what I want at all. And then the dungeon gives birth to some more monsters. This seems rad. And it brings down some fire-based creatures that are immune to regular magic and any physical attacks, and the only thing that effectively works well against them is illusion magic. And so Will's like, hey, I'm going to draw their attention, and I'm going to need you to deal with them. And Wignall goes, I can't do that. My illusions don't have physical form. Will, you're going to die. And he goes, there's no other solution here, bud. And charges out to maintain the focus of the illusions, of the monsters, while Wignall should get ready to cast. And Wignall goes, I'll just hit it with wind magic. Which, surprise, doesn't fucking work. So Will has to slide back in and go to protect Wignall, to which Kiki also pops up a little barrier. And Wignall goes, we get a really, really base shot, which is Wignall going, everybody else told me I can't do this, and yet Will is still standing here screaming at me that I can. I don't get why he trusts me, but he is putting his trust in me, and I can't betray that now. And as Michael said while we watched it, another one joins the harem. But we get a really cool bit where it's all the different shots.
Yeah, like, it wasn't
I
me
thought
who said
both.
it.
I thought it
agreed
was
with
Michael,
it.
but you got it, Mason. You had it. You had.
That was on Mason. I don't want to steal his credit for that one.
But we get a really cool shot of all the different elves who had chastised him, and then each little panel bit of the elves cracks, and they all get replaced with Will's face. And then Wignall pops the fuck off and just fucking trees these fire elementals to death. Wild sentence. Meanwhile,
someone did not consult the Pokemon type chart.
don't worry about it. Meanwhile, Lihana and Colette are talking as they're going through the floor.
Flying snake full of fire.
Colette is dropping some stones behind to mark a path. And Colette's like, we're gonna be okay. You know, they're strong people, we're strong, it's all gonna be good. And Lihana goes, no, I kind of fucked up by bringing us here. Like, I thought we could handle it, we couldn't, it's kind of my fault. And Colette goes, well, if it's anyone's fault, it's the monster's fault that dropped us into the 11th floor. But if you want to get technical, it's also my fault for tagging along, because you didn't invite me. So you shouldn't feel bad about me being in this situation. And Liana goes, Colette, what you don't understand, though, is that it's not... Well, Colette's like, we have Will. Will's not going to give up. And if he saw all of you doubting yourselves, he would hate you all for it because of how talented you all are. And Liana goes, oh, you don't get it. You only see the world in the lens of the academy we've been in. If you step outside the academy, we have been left behind. We are not good enough. Everybody who, like, it is a mandatory thing to graduate people with enough credits, but everybody who is actually cracked and really good at magic was out of here long, long ago, which is a really, really cool idea. That there were people who were here who got their credits so fast by doing the things that were
just so special.
Yeah,
They got
which
recruited.
they use Elfie as the prime example of that, but it is implied there were others, like all the other elves. And so then we cut away from them, and Julius and Scion are trekking through the dungeon, and a bunch of the creatures that Will saved Scion from in episode 3, somewhere in that area, just drop in through the floor. And Julius goes, we're so fucking screwed, dude. We do not have the mana for this. I have been using search to get us through this fucking hallway. What have you been fucking doing? And Scion goes, preserving my strength. Hey, we're gonna go kill these things. And Julius goes, no, why would we do that? That's suicide. And he goes, you better start getting your doubles out there, because Will could kill these things, so you damn well better believe I'm gonna kill these things. And they head on into combat. We then cut up to the higher level of the higher level floors, where the students are running away from more monster stampedes, and one of Scion's goons is about to get trampled to death. When Edward shows up with the sickest fucking execution dark magic spell known to man and obliterates every monster on screen. To which of them Workner flies by on his dragon, and everyone goes, why is there a fucking mount down here in this cave? And they go, cool, everybody's safe with the exception of one group. And William and Edward goes, how the fuck are we gonna find those kids? And Workner goes, I got the solution. You know that carbuncle I have down there? Yeah, that's how we're gonna find them. And we cut back to Colette and Lihana. Before that, we go back to Will and Wignall, and Wignall's like, okay, I accept you. We're buds now. We got this. We have the same dream. Let's go. We'll go find everybody. It's all gonna be okay. Meanwhile, Lihana and Colette go, yo, look, someone's walking towards us. That means somebody found us. And the show leads you up with the idea of maybe it's Will. Maybe it's somebody else. And then Will and Wignall catch up to Scion and Julius, which means it's not Will. And Scion and Julius have fucking bodied everything. This scene's great because they're like, Scion, you did all of this? And Julius pops up on an ice block. He goes, he did not do all this alone. Don't you dare give him all of this credit. This was a mutual team effort, as much as I hate this fact. The boys are then like, we gotta find Colette and Lihana. Meanwhile, the bad guys, one of them walks up and goes, hey, look, it's me, a villain. Go burr. He's the decapitated, he's the guy with no head. He has one of the heads of one of the teachers. He then just drops it on the floor, and then he puts another one on, and he talks through it for a bit, and then he causes it to explode. And And he's chatting, and he's like, well, we're gonna have to kill you kids because you saw us now, and that's not good. And his partner's like, you've kind of fucked this whole shit up. We gotta go. There are people closing in on us. As Will and the rest of the crew meet up, and they go, cool, we're gonna bring the Duke down, the Grand Duke, the evil Satan, demon, devil, fiend, Duke, Grand Duke, and it's gonna deal with you here. And we're out of here, bros. I think the entire scene of the headless enemy doing his writing script and talking and it dragging is really cool. I get the idea of, like, here's Wignall. Wignall's an asshole. Wignall's not an asshole. He has justification to be it. I understand that feeling really quick, and perhaps that feeling like it's not great in the overall, like, construction of the show. How the thing for me is, though, the setup also being not just is Wignall not the cream of the crop and should get along with Will, but it being everybody. That this entire squad of people who are supposed to be the best in the academy right now, all going, yeah, we're all failures. I really like that thematically as a build-up for this group of kids. Sure. And I really like this set piece for these last couple of episodes. I think it's really sick, and the fights are still really cool. Again, the only thing I'm worried about is that we're just not going to touch the Colette backstory stuff this season, which I felt like has been teased enough that I really would have liked to have gotten it. Maybe we still will. There's still 2 more episodes. She could come ham in this last fight.
We've gotten backstories for essentially everyone else in this goddamn group at this point.
Yeah, outside of, like, Julius, and, like, we could arguably get more for Lihana, for sure.
Nah, Julius doesn't have a backstory. His backstory is that he's an asshole.
Just an asshole.
His backstory is he's cold as ice. Congratulations. There's the joke. Right.
Willing to sacrifice.
But I don't know. I still really like this show. This is tricky for me because, like, in the long haul, like, my comparison point this week for what I need to go off is between this and Elusive in my brain, and there are definitely elements for both shows that give me reasons to argue which one which one needs to go, or which one I'm going to vote. Arguably, I'd like to not vote any of these fucking shows off because I really like all 5 of our shows. But I realistically know that's probably not going to be the play this week. For me, the thing with Wistoria is I really like Will. I really do like the lead up to this big fight. It feels like we're going to get a nice, good climactic end to at least this arc. And I'm liking the direction it's taking its characters, where that was one of the things I felt the show was lacking, was not really giving us any time with the rest of the cast. Even the little conversations we get here, I feel like, are really good. And I like the world opening up more from the academy setting. I'll talk, obviously, about Elusive when we get to Elusive.
Yeah, I'll agree. I think this is actually, like, a pretty good, like, setup episode as well. I mentioned the Wingall stuff earlier, where it's like, I don't like the flippy-floppy, suddenly, like, everyone's good now, and in the Will harem. I think the Will harem part's funny, though. But for me, the thing I really liked is introducing the villains in a way that, like, feels like, hey, they have other things to do, but at the same time they should just kill these kids. I mean, it would take, like, maybe 10 seconds right now with the power difference. Like, if they're killing teachers, and, like, teachers are way above the students, and then, like, the Magi Vanders are way above that, and these guys are probably on, like, the level at least above the teachers, or at least most of them, then it's like they could just probably kill these kids in, like, 3 seconds flat, which is why I don't like when it's like you cross the villain and it's like they just kind of ignore you because you're not worth their time. But, like, I mean, they kind of reveal the plot. You have seen them. You can give a lot of information away. That's kind of really dumb to leave these kids alive in general. But that's just the thing that a lot of shonen in like different animes do, where it's like, yes, this kid is annoying, but he's not my problem right now. He definitely won't defeat me as the big bad and the main character. But yeah, Headless is sick. I love, like, the writing script, Dark Magic.
For what it's
like
worth,
you said,
the other villain is the most milquetoast villain design I've ever seen. He is the most generic villain ever.
He just looks like Talon from League of Legends.
I'm so excited to see what the fuck he's got going on. Because I
also love our main teacher, Wogner, coming in. Is just like, nah, it's just like Bugger's Canyon back home. Meow, through the tunnels. Like, no issues.
Dragon Rider.
He's the cool beast tamer. But, like, does he have good magics too? I hope he does, because otherwise he's gonna die.
From the little mid-card we got earlier in the show, his stuff all seems dragon-based.
That's sick.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah.
Dragon Trainer Wolfert would like to battle. Go! Salamence! Kill them!
For what it's worth, I do kind of like the fact that it seems like the fight isn't going to be against those villains, obviously, because there's such a power discrepancy.
I agree.
And it's going to be against what seems to be a monster that is legitimately, like, a high climb for them. The credit count for this thing's insane. Not that that is necessarily a good indication.
It was like 150 or something, 270. Yeah, it was like
270.
Yeah.
And we split that among the 6 of them. That's an amount.
As far as I know, they might not even have to
40,
split it. They might
30-ish.
all get the credit count for killing it. Because, like, think about, like, the low credit monsters. If you are killing a low credit monster as a group, you all get 1 credit if it's a 4 credit monster. If it's a 1 credit monster, you all get...
It'd be 45 for the 6.
45, yeah.
I feel like it's more they all get that credit count.
Yeah,
based on how the show's kind of structured.
Yeah, because the idea is, because, like, if 2 people are in a group and they kill a thing, do they both get the remnants of it? Like that's kind of like the whole thing, yeah.
It does seem like they're all picking up traces of things they've killed.
And it's not like the monster's death knows, oh, this shit came from this person's one. Yeah. Like,
I mean, in the end, they're going to suck the essence as Will's just going to take the head anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
Will's going to get full credit regardless. Or unless they just assume it's teamwork based because they're in, like, the team, so they just divvy up the total amount of, like,
but also,
essence and stuff.
Who knows what they're going to do, because we know officially this is canceled. The actual exam. So, like, none of this might not even matter.
No, well, they'll still get the points, because you still get points for it, because, like, going into the dungeon is part of, like, your active magic use, which is how Will's gotten the majority of his points. Like, they'll still get points for it, but, like, it's not as big of a deal right now.
It certainly is going to be you survived in a floor you were not supposed to be on.
Congratulations.
You're probably at least some level of tough shit. Also, you now know what... The reason I'm not too beat up by the bad guys spill their plan is because I think the important people in this world already know. Because the plan is get rid of the berry, get rid of the fake barrier in the sky. I think they're already well aware. Maybe they're all warlocks and their patrons said to.
Bad idea.
We got other thoughts on Wistoria.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoy this episode. It's just, there are some points of the writing that I'm a little on still, and I think the shows I have above it are just a little bit better in my. So.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that certainly was. There was the writing in the show is kind of just, like, it's good, but it's kind of just some of the stuff like here's generic fantasy thing. But again, still, I like these characters. I do enjoy the show a bit. Like, I do enjoy them enough.
I mean, at worst, Sean, we can at least congratulate you. Congratulations, you picked another generic fantasy that got to top 5 at least.
I'm incredible with it, baby. My generic fantasy is built different than all other generic fantasy. That's all I can say.
If anyone else picks generic fantasy, it's bad. Like me.
True.
Same.
Like if you and I pick giant beasts of ours and goes up at number 11.
Was it Sean that got free run?
No, I think Mason.
It was me.
Mason had, but we didn't finish the season.
Yeah, I certainly did pick Fantasia Songo.
You did pick Fantasia Song.
See, but you gotta think about it. When Mason locks into a really good fantasy, it's because him and I talk about it.
To be fair, Mason also picked, I think, your boy.
He was gonna pick it anyway.
Or was that you
that
picked your boy?
That was me calling it.
Yeah,
see, you guys can pick some good
I picked
fantasies.
Ranking of Kings.
Like, which we also had a long discussion
fantasy.
about.
It's a historical fantasy.
It is certainly less fantasy. For what it's worth, I wouldn't even call Elusive fantasy, because it's not. It's an action historical shonen. Kongming is not
it's just
fantasy.
Historical fiction.
Hongming's an isekai.
Yes.
Which does not mean it's fantasy. Let's make that very clear. The two can be. You could.
Well,
you're right.
not.
You could.
It's a returner story.
You can have fantasy, you can have
Reincarnation.
isekais, and you can have fantasy
Reincarnation,
isekais,
yeah.
but not every
Not
fantasy or isekai is a fantasy.
It's a reincarnation that is also an isekai, right? Because he dies and he comes back at the same age he died at, right?
But it's not a different world, so it's not an isekai. It's not a different world.
That
than the original.
technically doesn't matter in relation to old Japan, modern Japan. If I know
Honestly?
anything from Inuyasha, technically still an isekai.
the thing is, isekai quite literally.
Anyways,
means
guys.
another
Another
world.
no, but in Inuyasha, they should have gone to a portal to another
What have I
dimension,
done?
like in a well or
What
something.
have I done?
Yeah, but it takes them to old Japan. It doesn't take them to. It's
So, because
complicated.
Inuyasha isn't an isekai. Inuyasha is just actually historical fiction.
So, anyways, though, show's still pretty good, but not good enough for some people.
Yeah, it's
Well-
fine. I just don't think it's as good as good as some of our other things.
I mean, but the real question is it the worst? That is, or is it the thing that's going? That is the question you have to answer in your mind.
I guess we'll find out at the end of
Yeah.
the episode, and you will too, viewer. Maybe.
But first,
Might be tied
Hopefully,
for the
unless
worst and go on a
unless
wheel.
Sean's internet dies for 12 years.
don't
put that
even
curse on us,
consider
Michael.
it.
Don't you put that evil on him.
But let's
Everybody's
get,
internet has crashed at least once during the season.
Let's get
Yeah.
into Elusive.
Me looking at my little router.
So, Elusive this week. So, Yorishige confides in Tokiyuki that he's lost his future vision. He's lost his holy power. And so he asks Tokiyuki to go get him some things that might restore it. So he starts off with an eel. And, like, every time he sends Tokiyuki on these errands, and Tokiyuki has to ask random people around the shrine to help him out with getting these things. And it gives people the wrong idea. Because they see him doing some weird shit that Yorishige asks him to do. And, he's getting frustrated about it. So Yorishige sends him off to the mountains to go get water from a holy spring. And he's like, I fucking hate this man. I'm going to kill it. He's the worst. Why do I do these things for him? And then he runs into Shizuku, who's dancing and praying. And she goes, oh yeah, I was just praying with these guys. And he's like, who are you talking about? And she's like, oh right, you can't see them. So she kisses his eyelids and gives him the sight to see the divine beasts that are just hanging around this spring, including the boar they killed in like episode 3. And he goes, wow, this is really cool. I know nothing about Shizuku. Anyways, got to get this water to Yorishige. So we cut away from this to Takeuchi, whose brother has just arrived at his little compound. And he goes, hey, brother, I'm just going to be real honest with you. I need your help to take Kamakura back, because I know there's survivors from the Hodo incident. We need to get rid of that, because that's what's stopping me from like taking over all of Japan right now. And his brother goes, cool, yeah, I can do that. And then Takeuchi goes, oh yeah, by the way, I made this really cool painting of Buddha. Come and see it. And he's like going on about this Buddha and how much he loves. He's like super in on Buddhism. And while this is happening, his brother is just terrified to even set foot inside the room. Which makes you think, maybe there's like bodies here or something. He gives his brother, and he tells Takeuchi, yeah, man, I'll do it for you. You're my brother. I got it. We get a little bit of backstory of how the younger brother kind of hated Takeuchi at first, because he's just got the craziest divine intuition ever. He set up a cipher for him for like a little scavenger hunt, and Takeuchi just went to the spot it was hidden immediately because he just felt like it. But he ended up respecting this by where they're at now, because it's just really like just divine luck essentially. Takeuchi fucks off, and his brother looks at some servants and goes, cool, so you guys, you're gonna go in there and you're gonna burn everything in this building down except for the Buddha. You can keep that, but like everything else, burn it off the walls. We cannot have this here. And you see what the actual painting is, because up to this point it's just been a very like close up image of the Buddha, and that's it. And we see that Takeuchi has painted basically what is a monster eating the Buddha around it. And he goes, yeah, I don't think he even realizes it himself, that he sees the Buddha not as a figure of like worship, but as prey, which is terrifying. We then cut back to Tokiyuki. He brings the water to Yorishige on Lake Suwa, and he drinks it and he goes, cool, I think my holy power's coming back. And he shows him their like wonder of the world that he's been talking about this whole episode, where the lake itself like cracks in half on its own. maybe, or he maybe does it. We then go into him talking about the future and like modern society and how basically as people get like understand more about the world and about like society, gods mean less, and therefore wonders can be explained and they're not wonders anymore. And it's a really interesting like discussion on like how modernization affects how everyone sees the world, and it's really a cool scene. And then the end of this episode happens.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they have a little snowball fight, and Tokiyuki goes, okay, cool, but you're cleaning up your fucking mess after this and clearing my name of this because you've really tarnished how everyone looks at me. And he goes, okay, fine. And then it turns out that everything that he had Tokiyuki gather for him was for a kink he has.
So, like, I talked to Michael about this. I don't think that's the case. I think he was legitimately having him gather stuff to do a ritual with a shrine priestess doll to actually try to get his powers back. But I don't think they show us it, and I just don't think it comes up. I think this is just what he chooses to do to cover for Tokiyuki because everyone assumes he's a pervert.
Yeah.
What he said was specifically like, hey, I'm just going to do things that happened around the last time that I did this.
Yeah.
But we can't get like an actual shrine maiden because that would give it away. We can't do this because that would give it away. So we're just going to do a bunch of different things and hopefully it works. Like eating eel and this the last time my power came back. The one little thing I think that was not quite correct with the recall is that he's... For the two brothers, I forget their names.
Ashikaga and I don't remember his actual.
He sent them to Kamakura because it's a defensive point they've already taken, but he sends them there to defend it because he has a feeling that the last survivors of Hojo are going to try to retake it as a central point.
They already
have control of it, but he's sending them there to reinforce it and defend it. He's like, hey, I need to rely on you for this so I can do my duties here, basically.
And go ahead.
I was just gonna say the main reason is because while our main Takauji is all of like just an incredible tactician and also just has divine luck on his side, his brother is just a full-on genius.
Sociopath.
No,
I'm talking about
the first one's the sociopath.
The first one's the sociopath.
God,
the second one is just an actual genius.
Yeah,
like he's super
logical,
like very left brain.
And we also get our timetable here. We get our timetable of it's going to be a year and about a half, I want to say they say, for when we're going to get the confrontation between our main group and them. Is the idea, is how it lays it out. They have a year and a half, which is a crazy tight timeline to get for that, but also war. Michael, you want to talk about this episode first? I'll hold my thoughts.
Part of me doesn't want to talk about this episode, but so this episode's highs are really high. I think like him walking up and when we second the first sparkles on the screen of him seeing her doing doing the dance for the Divine Beast. That entire segment like from that through the Divine Beast was wonderful. It was amazing. That was so fucking good. And like the stuff with Yorishige doing the whole like gods losing their power talk. That was really cool. I really liked that segment.
Mm-hmm.
This show's in number 5 for me right now because of the entire rest of it happens. It hurt the show that bad. It just fucking sucked. Everything about him gathering the materials was just bad in my opinion. It felt like a gag that was made because they said the people when they were making the manga said, you need to put more gags in your manga. It's getting a little too dark now. And he put the stupidest gag he could think of because that's what he's been doing with Gemba. My issue with the whole thing is that immediately at the end of it, we're hit with the or right before the end, like when he goes to get the water, we're told actually everything you've done up to now was literally a wild goose chase because Yorishige's being annoying. Because he's specifically told, I actually know the water's gonna do it. And Tokyo goes, then why the fuck did you have me do all these other things? Which is why I think honestly this might actually be Yorishige's kink. Part of me. Or maybe it wasn't that. Maybe he wanted to do the thing that they all thought Tokiyuki was gonna do with it, but Tokiyuki said, "Nah, you're gonna get beat by it." Like, that entire bit just didn't land in any capacity and legitimately pissed me off.
There are a couple
Because
of
there's so much
small-
other great things that happen.
Yeah, there were a couple of small funny moments in the initial gathering of stuff, like when he gets the eel and then he cooks the eel, and then Fubuki's like, I smell eel. Where the fuck's my eel?
You're running in front of the
Just-
screen.
Yeah,
randomly,
like the little small, like there are some small character things. Certainly doesn't do Gemba any favors this episode. I also just don't really care. Like again, I don't really care for that beginning portion. I really like the scene about the divine beasts. I think that scene is sick as fuck. I really like the stuff back in the capital with our villains. I think
It's a big metaphor.
I think the conversation about gods losing their power is neat, because largely that is how that works. Yes, that is historically what has happened in our modern world. You know, the further away we moved away from a lot of the more ancient civilizations that have large pantheons, the more we moved to a like single, you know, monotheistic deity, because it was able to explain the last couple of things. You didn't need to explain the things that science has started explaining, which is why we don't have these large pantheons of stuff. That is just actually how that is kind of historically represented. So like, to me, it's like it's a fine conversation. I really like the visuals for it. I think it's neat. It's just, what a weird episode to send us into the lead up to the finale of this season for me. Like, I don't know, like, we haven't built anything for our last 2 episodes, so what are they? It gives me no real indication of what we're going to be doing. I get we had to resolve the he needs his divine powers back, and that is interesting, and I'm glad to have it done. I don't know how I feel about the show going, yeah, I would really like to know more about her. Yeah, so would I. You could just tell us. We could do it. You could ask. But again, you know, it's stuff you set up to do later. It's a long, ongoing shonen. I can only be so mad about that kind of stuff. Yeah, this show's comedy is maybe not always a hit, which is definitely what puts a little bit of a hindrance on it for me. And also, in my opinion, like, this is the episode this week where the least amount of things happened. Like, we spent this whole episode to resolve one problem and set up one thing. Largely the rest of the cast gets no development or really any kind of moments whatsoever. And we don't have a clear setup for what we're doing either. The problem is that this show's highs are really fucking good. So it's a matter of weighing where we've been with where we are and how I feel about the other shows. Problem is, I really like all 5 of these shows.
Yeah, it quite literally is. I think overall, I think this is probably a better show than Wistoria for me. But because I just watched this episode essentially, and this was the stuff we got this episode, it certainly is like a kind of moment. Like it does hurt it a ton. It's very much a hard, like, dude, which one's better? Which one had a better episode this week to me? And it's just a really hard thing to weigh that.
This is going to be the classic. JJK Season 1 is... JJK as a whole, as an anime, is better than Akadama Drive. Is Season 1's 12 episodes better than Akadama Drive's 12 episodes?
Is
That's a
Panda
completely
Baseball
different
better
question.
than Monkey Baseball?
Monkey baseball.
Monkey Baseball.
Like,
I know
the Monkey
it
Baseball
is. I know it is different, Michael, but it has like that same.
No,
what
yeah,
it, what it
yeah.
realistically is this is coming back to a similar situation of like something like Hokkaido Gals, where has it built? Is it a better show in that moment or at the end? Probably won't be. Does it have a chance to do something better? Maybe. And like that is where I am with like
And
I
how
think
I
Elusive's
feel
a
at that
sick as I think Elusive's a sick as fuck show that has really high highs. Where do I fall with it? I'm still thinking.
But Wistoria is also putting us in, like, right about to start a cool ass fight. So like,
It's hard to like ignore that it's about to go fucking off, right?
yeah.
And
And
then-
them fighting against the whatever the Simon. I don't know what that
Yeah,
called.
we still have one more
The
show.
Grand Duke.
The
Duke. That was his name. They call him Duke.
we
It's
still
just a dude's name. It was
we
like
still
the
have
big.
one more show to talk about too.
Yeah.
But it's almost like I'm not. It's almost like I was segueing into having
It's
this
almost like for me
conversation.
and John, it's not in the
yeah, because it's
conversation.
not in this conversation. But do we have other thoughts about Elusive first before we move on? John, I know you didn't get too much.
I mean, you guys kind of said a lot of the points. I mean, I think it's a good show, but I think it's like a little bit hindered by its like attempts at gags that don't land. You know, when your shonen comedy doesn't land, it just kind of feels kind of like cringe or awkward, and it really kind of derails from like the main themes of the show, right? Like you said, where it's like, I love the spirit stuff. I loved the end of like the episode metaphor, where it's like, hey, this is how the world, you know, eventually becomes. Is that like we have less need for gods as, you know, different things arise. It's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good show, but I think it's just there's a lot of better stuff too. That's why it's not fully at the top. But I think overall, the show has had a lot of good points as well. So interested to see how the voting goes today, especially. But
Okay, Michael.
Okay. Yeah, the Makeine, too many losing heroines. It's time for the festival. The festival happens. That's it.
Whole
So, yeah,
episode
recap,
done.
recap.
Okay, but like,
that is realistically
not
what the
wrong.
okay, but like, we're
Man,
forgetting
I
the most
missed Dylan
important
recaps.
part.
Those were the best.
Oh, the beginning of the episode? Well, Michael will
beginning
talk
of
about
the
it
episode.
immensely.
Oh, I'm sure.
We had to pause
I
at
want
least.
to talk. No, I don't actually.
You're gonna ignore it? It's based. What do you mean?
Wait,
The car
this
ride.
is-
There's no way you forgot about
There's
the car
no way
ride
you
there,
forgot.
Michael. We had to pause the scene. I know
Oh,
we
yeah, okay,
paused about a
yes.
separate thing
Okay,
too.
see, the issue is that a separate scene happens literally 20 seconds right after the opening. That also is a thing I don't want to think about, so my brain forgot
True.
anything in
Fair.
the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, Komari gets picked up by Vice President. To go to school. She wants to be there early that day. She can be ready for the festival. She didn't actually like see the creation of the things. She wants to like understand the exhibit a little more. To get into the Vice President's car, and we see a CD for yaoi voice acting noises or something. And that's just what she's listening to.
It's a yaoi audio.
You know what?
She sure is listening to it.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
like,
nice
I listen to
volume.
podcasts, so you know what?
It certainly was.
It's not
very
that much
fun.
different. I also do
Sitting
enjoy
here-
Kamari going, could you please lower the volume a little bit, as it's like very loud moaning of two men.
It's crazy that they just made Avalie May into an anime character. Anyways,
It was very fun watching this episode and having my roommate Cody sitting right behind me and just turn over and see your hole's so tight.
As
the
the,
size
as,
for
the,
siege.
as the scene syncs up with Komari putting the
I'm-
seatbelt buckle into the lock.
Yeah, she's like fumbling it because she's like, what the fuck is happening in this car right
I had
now?
to pause it on that line.
Michael, do we
Just
want to
goes-
quick talk about the other thing you and I talked about at the start of this episode? So
What else have we started about?
So Kamari wakes up, put on her school uniform, walks out of the house, and Michael and I go. And so I watched this episode first, and I watched it with Michael, and I had the same thought, and I wasn't gonna bring it up because I felt really dumb. And then Michael paused and went, "Have they always worn 4 bows on their uniform?" And I went, "Thank God you asked the question," because I did not notice it until this episode. And then as soon as he brought it up, I was like, well, we could double check. And I go and look in the opening, and every single girl's fucking uniform, they all have 4 bows. They're all different colors. There's no meaning to it. Their school
it's like-
uniform's just over-the-top nonsense of 4 random bow ties.
It's like this. It's specifically the way the shot frames it. One, her putting on like one of the bows, and it's the entire frame is just bows in your face.
It's
I was
really
like,
silly.
they're wearing 4 bows because they're less noticeable when it's all like zoomed out
Yes.
on the characters. But it's just that. It's like, huh? But yeah, and we got to school. Nukumizu like talks to Kamari. She's like, thanks for doing all this, and he's like, I didn't do that. Someone else did that. And she goes, thanks for doing this. And he goes, no, someone else did that one, actually. Thanks for doing this. And someone else did. She's like, let me compliment you. Fuck you. And he goes, oh, you want a compliment? Oh, yes. Keep them coming. And she goes, die.
on second thought, die.
Ishine. Drop dead.
Shine.
Ishine is such a word.
Aggressive
I'll
phrase.
talk about it so Michael doesn't have to. Nukumisu goes and hands in a photo
Yeah.
of the club exhibit, to which
Yeah,
he
and
is
the
greeted.
zombie members there, which means things occur.
Yeah. Which we find out over the course of this episode, she is blackmailing the vice president of student government into meowing in her cat maid outfit because she thinks the president of student government is going to dress up as a prince and it's going to work out in the end. It's all going to be fine. but she's only doing it because she thinks she's easily manipulable and gullible, and she's right. It sure is that character. I don't know why this character's here. I have no idea why this character exists
She's
in
sort of
the show.
like one of the characters of all time.
This episode's fucking everywhere, and I love it.
It's insane.
There's 85,000 cuts to 85,000 scenes.
Yes, so they're running their little thing. So Komari and Nukumizu were there. They're doing their stuff. They're doing their thing. They're running they're running the thing. Their teacher comes in, and she starts yapping about something.
The food. She thinks the food's really good.
Oh yeah,
Wants
she's
to
like,
know
oh,
if
these peanut things are
it.
really good. She goes, did you make it? He goes, no, my sister. He goes,
Does your younger sister
have an older brother? And he goes, and she goes, no, but like in his 30s and with a stable job. And he goes, I can talk to like extended family, I guess.
And then
As
the
nurse comes in and then goes, wow, her talking about that's so hot. Wait,
her exact line
I
of
would
dialogue.
love for her to find a man that I can sleep. Meet.
For quite literally the line of dialogue, because I have it as the screenshot, because this fucking killed me, was, when she finds her ideal man, I sure'd like to ride, ... meet him. What a fucking sentence from
it's
this
just one of those
show.
things where
Fucking sociopath.
in any other show that would be the craziest thing ever. It's not like it's not crazy here, but this isn't the first time we've had this teacher say something along these lines, which is even crazier.
Out of pocket shit.
Again, it's like episode 2 or 3 where she hits you with the when you're getting laying down on a nurse's bed.
I also want to point out a truly beautiful interaction, which is Nukumizu walks into this room. Komari is cowering under the desk, and he goes, what's wrong? And he goes, the teachers are talking to me. And he goes, that truly is a calamity.
Yeah, that's a calamity.
He truly exemplifies, or she truly exemplifies the definition of a Freudian slip as like a human being.
So then Yanami comes in to kind of like relieve them of their duty for a little bit. She's wearing her ghost outfit, puts a bunch of brown stains on it, and they go, why do you have so many brown stains? She goes, oh, all the kids walking up and touching you, got chocolate all over me. Probably her, but you know what? her white outfit has a lot of chocolate spots on it. And they go, and she's like, okay, now you guys can go like have your little break. And she goes, and you are not going into the fucking club room. And he was like, I got a book to read. She goes, I will burn it. Go hang out. Go have fun at the festival.
Nukumizu goes, what are we supposed to do if we can't be socially inept outcasts who read in a room alone? She goes, the festival you're in?
The whole festival. It's happening. Got a whole school to explore. They get some spicy udon. They have an awkward little talk together. Where Nukumizu goes, huh. We do kind of look like a couple right now. Komari, call me Big Brother, so we look less like a couple. And she goes, huh? And starts coughing, starts like choking on her food. And he goes, oh, maybe it's just because of the spicy food. I mean, not like that would ever happen to me. Sips his food, and then immediately also starts choking on it. So now they have a little double choking on their food moment. I think this leads into the gun.
Yes,
I get it. It's essentially just they go around the festival, things occur. It doesn't exactly matter what order things occur in.
Yeah.
But they go to Asagumo's thing. She's the person connected to Lemon. And she made a really, really powerful air gun. We have like a really sick scene of him shooting it. It's kind of fucking awesome. Where he like absolutely obliterates something.
Not sure playing Pokemon.
And she goes, yo, it's super hard. Like blow through like a can of soda. And he goes, that's a problem. And then they call Komari over, who's doing like the little like catch the fish game with like little net or paddle or whatever it is.
Yeah, the paper scoop.
Yeah, and then Asaguma goes, oh my god, this is Komari. This is the Komari that we talked about? Oh my god, it's you. It's literally you. It's like slowly zooming in on her face, slowly increasing the brightness of the shine.
I heard you like BL.
Oh my god, I heard you for Joshi.
I heard you like BL. I need a BL friend to talk with BL
I
with.
don't even think she gets hit with she says, I heard you like, it's like, oh, you look like someone you look like a Fujoshi. I don't know any Fujoshis. We should be friends. I gotta learn more about being a Fujoshi.
I need a Fujoshi friend.
And then Komari like fake passes out because it's like she's overwhelmed kind of scene. And we go and visit Lemon, who's running the track event, or she's like doing stuff there. And we're reviving yeah, she's track and mask, or track and common, I think is what is like the Japanese there, because common I think means mask. I don't know, something like that. Well, they go there, and then a guy shows. His name is like Bakoko or Koboko or something.
Tabako.
Toboko, yeah, it was a person who Lemon ran with back in middle school, and he's like, yes, I challenge you to the 100-meter dash. Now I think I might be faster than you, and if I win, pulls off his like jacket, you'll go to the movies with me. And she goes, okay, but if you're faster than that, let's do the 1,500-meter dash. And he goes, wait, what? And she goes, ready? Second, you go, what? No, wait, and then he gets fucking smoked.
Wait, so you're gonna bring up the thing that's fucking hilarious about this scene?
So the thing about this scene that fucking killed me is this man shows up and it absolutely frames it like you should know who he is. And I'm just sitting there like, who the fuck is this guy? And then Lemon starts like, Nukumizu goes, wait, should I know him? And she's like, oh yeah, don't you remember? This is the guy that I used to run with in middle school. And he goes, why would I know that? It's so funny.
Also at some point during I think it's actually before this, the not the president of the student council, the chairwoman shows up to do inspections of their club. Or to like inspect the things, and Nukumizu and Komari are there, and she goes, yes, the literature club. It's quite something to exhibit you got here, but you guys have had some tough times, you know. Maybe we got to do something. And they go dissolution. She goes, no, temporary dissolution. I'm not sure yet though. And they go, what the fuck does that mean? And she goes, maybe it's like 3 temporary dissolutions and you die. Maybe, I don't know yet.
What is this character? Michael is doing that voice and those mannerisms, and he's not wrong, and that's the worst part.
Like, she walks in like she knows what she's talking about, and has no idea what she's talking about. The epitome of a yapper.
Straight yapping.
We also are gonna get,
then we get good Komari Nukumizu stuff at the end.
Well, before that, we do get the individual bits with the other classes, random dress-up plays they do in the middle of the courtyard. So you get one with Karen and the boyfriend, where they're both vampires and they kiss and everyone is interested in it. And then Nukumizu passes it when it's Yanami's. And she has a hot guy mourning over her death as a ghost, and Nukumizu walks away and goes, that was fucking dumb, a ghost can't die again. What a terrible script.
What a terrible script.
Ghost can't die.
Was a ghost to die again?
Yeah, I want to say, yeah, and then the episode, then we have a little bit with, there's gonna be like the four like members of the lit club are gonna have a little chatty chat, little meeting, do a little thing, and then Nukumizu's talking to vice president. Don't remember her name. I could look it up, but whatever. Vice president. And she goes, "Yeah, I'm kind of a bitch, kind of a manipulative bitch." And she's like, "Yeah, I knew Komari was into him, but like, she was never gonna act on
Have
that.
you looked
so
at Komari? I wasn't worried."
She goes, "You know what? I underestimated her.
I thought she didn't have the balls."
Yeah. But and then we learned that that Komari and the president are currently like talking about something in like the club room or whatever. Then we essentially swap places of the president and Nukumizu. I think that they probably have their little like meeting thing. But like Nukumizu goes and then talks to Komari, and then he goes, "So did you say you like him again, or do you try to steal him away?" And she goes, "No, I wouldn't do that. It's fucking stupid." But I did ask, did you ever like me? Like the hypothetical, if she never existed, would you have chosen me? And then she never actually gives any vague, and then she's like, and this was his response, which is all absolute nonsense.
Yeah, it's tough because on one hand you could say that the answer was no, because of the way she kind of talks about him, as if like he tried to let her down gently without like full on saying it, and then like she got him to just come out and say it, and it. But then there's also the argument that she's like, I'm not ready to move on yet, which maybe means he actually said yes. But it's an odd situation because reasonably, if the vice president never existed, they would never have met, probably. Like, they're so intrinsically tied to the three of them that, like, that hypothetical's so unfair to him.
Yeah, and then we also get Komari going, the two of them, like what she loved about Lit Club was the two of them there. It was the three of them as their little group.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm legitimately mad at myself for even attempting to try to break that up at some point with what the stunt I pulled. And it's just good Komari moments. Komari, wonderful.
It's a good
10 out of
Komari
10.
arc. I like the Komari arc.
Mario, very good.
Very, very cutesy. Very demure.
It's really
very
nice.
mindful.
It's really nice to compare it, like to compare the actions of all three of our girls to show how very different they all are and how they go about the breakups.
And their own perceptions of it.
Something I point out to Michael that I think's really neat is I think if you go and look at the first episode of this show, Nukamizo as a character looks like a different character. Like he looks like he's grown into the role, like physically, of a regular rom-com or slice of life romance protagonist more. Like he now just looks like what you would expect, but originally he was like a little, like his design felt a little more odd, like a little more like a loner, like a little more like the nerd who would be alone reading the books caught up in like his fantasy. Whereas now he like is center stage, and like the vice president mentions it, like he kind of has a little bit of like suave to him at times with the shit he says, and I think that's really neat. I actually
Oh, look
really
at you
hope,
talking like that.
yeah, I really
Like,
hope this show has more to it, because I don't know about the source material, and I really hope, and I would actually think it would be killer if a season 2 of this show was this set of characters in a traditional like romance slice of life rom-com, where it's like now Nukamizu is the protagonist, because then you have such a crazy fucking foundation to lay, and you have all these characters that are like an open field for like potential.
They all have like relationships with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think that would be a really cool experiment in like this genre for writing it. I just don't know, but I'm also
You know, it
totally
feels
fine
like-
with this ending in like a nice note in 12.
So what's that one show? Is it White Album that has like the different routes basically?
We call
a
it
show
a
that could
visual
just-
novel.
But like, there's a specific anime that does it, right?
It's White Album 2, I believe.
Is it White
the
Album?
it's too specific.
I guess End Fate technically, but like, it's it feels like one of those shows that like you could have like a season 2 that's 12 episodes with 3 episodes of him just taking each girl's route, right? Like that feels like such a thing that they could do with this. I don't think they will, because I think that just kind of defeats the.
Yeah, I don't
Not
think that's
necessarily the point of
necessarily.
the show.
No,
but, like-
do it in a way where one of the arcs is just the Kadoa Shoujo route, where you don't get anyone, just fucking dies.
Sure, Mason, no.
You
He
just
falls
shot.
off the school roof
He
during the
falls
festival.
off a fucking school roof, yeah. Hang out with Harry Potter.
God, I just think this show's so good. Like I won't lie. I've had this belief for like a couple of weeks now. This is probably my favorite show of the season. And like we're
I just
heading.
love these characters
Yeah,
so
like-
much.
Also, like on a direction standpoint, on a music standpoint, like everything about this show is fucking incredible. Like its characters tied together, its story's really good. Do I think that if this show has a bad next 2 episodes, it might not be my number 1? Still totally possible because of how close, like how good everything else still is, right? Like it's not a no contest for me, but like this is my front runner. You have to actively, like if you want first place, you have to find a way to be better than this show for me.
I think that's very fair. I think there's definitely close shows, but I don't think anything's quite surpassed Makine's like peaks, I guess, this season. In terms of like its style, it's the way it presents its characters, the way it like prevents its story. It's just been really enjoyable.
I also think just consistently too. Like its quality does not really fluctuate for me. Even its swap into arcs has been really clean. And like, okay, we're
Yeah.
just rolling right into the next girl. Nice. It's a good season.
Yeah. This is a really
I'm
good
trying
sequel.
I'm trying to think of a good name. It's gonna be a minute.
Cool. Yeah, I could have made this go a different way, but this is fine. So we have our results in. We have no slays on Makeine and Alya. We have 2 slays on Senpai, 2 on Elusive, and 3 on Wistoria. That is my doing. I'm the one who put the extra slay on Wistoria. At this point, I cannot express how much I like Senpai. I don't want that show gone. I think it deserves to still be here. If I had, I would much rather not have to risk a wheel on that show going, when I feel like it definitely still should be here. Whereas, like, I can see the sides for Wistoria. It definitely is, like, the most, like, its writing is definitely not its strongest point. I like it a lot just because it's cool fantasy action that I really enjoy. I like its world, I like its characters. I think it's on a pretty positive direction. Obviously, my other vote was also Elusive. I'm not gonna sit here and, you know, like, it was definitely between those two for me. They were my bottom 2 shows for a reason. Yeah, I just do not feel comfortable letting that go, which is why I decided to slay both. Funny wheel not happening this week, baby. Not allowed on my watch.
Well, it was close. I tried.
It might happen next week.
I would be surprised if it didn't happen.
I would be
next week,
surprised.
honestly.
It will solely come down to how the show's individual episode performances are.
I think
sure.
it's more. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's more on Senpai than it is on
Elusive.
Elusive. I think.
See, the thing for me is, like, I would feel that way if I haven't
I think
liked
I would have felt that way
Senpai.
more if it was Wistoria left, right? Because with Wistoria, we know what it's gonna do, right? It's gonna set
Yeah.
up for this big fight. Whereas with Elusive and Senpai, we don't really know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
I think it will come down to what it does in its
Yeah, 'cause
episode
it's
and what it,
50-50.
because for what it's worth, we're gonna do this. We're gonna watch next week's episode 11s. We're gonna vote to decide what makes it in the top 3, and then we have one more episode of everything. So, like, episode 12s are the end for all of these shows. We do not go, like, there is no 13s. All of these shows have next week's episode, and then it's done. So, like, we will have a very clear read on how do we feel. If you are someone who decides what makes it into the top 3 based on what you, like, how you feel an ending might be satisfying for you, next week is going to be very important because it's going to show whether or not our remaining shows have set up for a good ending. I also don't want to particularly say that Alya's fully safe for me. It's not. Like, I really liked that show the past couple of weeks, but Alya also had the biggest hill to climb to get here, probably out of all of our shows, for me that are left. Like, I was not as high on this show in its first 3 episodes. It definitely steadily has gotten better. I don't expect it to drop the ball, but I'm not saying it's impossible.
Sure.
Well, yeah, that'll knock us out for this, and with that, we're done for the night, guys.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Join us
One
next
more.
week, and join us next week where we decide top 3, and then we do top 3, where we get to talk about silly things we do in relation to how we decide top 3. It's actually not that silly. It's pretty well thought out.
It's a little silly.
It's a little silly in the
It's
way.
not as silly as a selecting order for
No,
picking shows.
which
Yeah.
I would like to point out, if the things we are talking about happen for next season, that gets a little less silly.
We get more wheels though.
Do we?
We get more real time.
Yeah. Do we?
Yeah, we do.
It's complicated to think about, but
No, it's not.
let's.
I don't think we do, actually.
Right, Mason's thinking the same way I'm thinking, but
Well,
we're
actually,
out
no,
of here.
I
Let's have a good night, guys.
Goodbye.